My name is Youssef, and I'm a solution architect at Databricks.
Hi, I'm Hubert. I'm Databricks advocate and I'm also leading data engineer at ASDA in UK.
And I'm Quentin. I'm working for Databricks also. I'm solution architect and I'm focusing on the demos and the DB demo content that you can download.
I'm super glad to be here with you, and today we're gathered to discuss about the what's new in Databricks for November and December. So let me share my screen, and then we can start discussing.
There are
Um,
a lot of updates and we think that some of them are like game changers.
yeah, exactly. And just before we start, make sure to subscribe to the Next Gen Lakehouse newsletter. And I think we can start discussing about the first one, foundation model. So I think Hubert, have you tried it yet or not?
Yes, and I think the whole idea which Databricks has to make it as simple as possible is great because what is great is that you can just use SQL query to query that model. So possibility of implementation something like software 2.0 where you just use simple queries which decide, for example, is it spam or not, is it this food is vegetarian or not. You can just do by using simple query which referencing some of the model and you can compare quality of that models using playground, so everything is in one place and is ready to use.
Yeah, and it's super exciting to see how many new foundation model are being released. So it's being added more in more countries. It makes it super easy to start to do some tests. If you want to, I know, try with Llama 2, see how it's working, and then you want to switch to Mistral, like it's super easy to do and makes building all the Gen AI application, I guess, much easier and also kind of very cost efficient because the price, like the per token price, is super cost efficient compared to hosting the model yourself. So it's really exciting, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of application using these models. So yeah, super exciting news. And we have, I think the latest model they added was the Mistral with the that one. So it's a mixture of model. So you have like eight 7B model, and based on the query that you will send, it's only going to activate a subset of model. So it makes inference super fast and also super cost efficient. So it's a really good model. I think it's amazing to see how fast Databricks just took it from the open source world and added that as an enterprise ready model. So really, really cool stuff.
Yeah,
And
and I
also
think
you see prices which is in tokens for every model and you can easy compare which is cheaper, which is
yes.
more expensive.
Yeah, and I think the good thing over here is that you have two options. You can use the paper token, for example, to develop your model, test it, make sure it's running well, and then if you think you're gonna use this, you're gonna have a lot of queries, then you can provision your own model, or you can just keep using the paper token. And the goal is really to democratize the access to the Gen AI to all the organizations, including the small ones.
Yeah, I
And
think
of
it's
course, yes. Quentin, continue.
I was saying like in terms of some models that you can create on Databricks. So you have three types of model. I think it's worth explaining that. So you can have the foundation model, which is serverless and fully managed by Databricks. So you have a pay per token basis. So every time you send one word, you will be billed, for example, one token. It's roughly one token by word. So that's the first type of model, and you have all the Llama 2, Mistral, MPT models available, and also one to create the embeddings. So that's one type of model. And then you have the external model, which is the brand new thing we just added. So external model, it's kind of like a,
Proxy.
a gateway to an external model. Yeah, proxy exactly, which could be AWS Bedrock, it could be Anthropic, or the usual OpenAI on Azure on the original GPT model. And it's great because you can set up the connection chain and the password only once. And then you can still serve everything through Databricks. So it makes it super easy to start, for example, with an external model, and then you can switch to an open source model fully managed by Databricks. And the last type of model is a custom model that you can deploy yourself. So you could be using Mosaic ML to fine tune your own model, or even build your own model from scratch. And it's going to be one model that you serve. So you really have these kind of three types of model, and it's all using the same API, fully unified, and makes it super easy to switch from one to another.
So do you think we can call external models that they are like under the Lakehouse Federation?
Yeah, it's kind of like House Federation
Yeah,
for LLM.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
and you have this aspect of not only governance, but you can also handles. You don't need actually to understand the. You have a standard format for all the models, whether it's Anthropic, OpenAI, and you can also fix, for example, a limit of rates. For example, this user, for example, you Hubert, you can only run, I don't know, 10 queries per minute, and you can fix this to make sure you control the cost because this is something that can go crazy quickly, and plus the all the governance that you can handle on Databricks while accessing the data you have on your lakehouse. And it's very easy. I mean, to be honest, I'm not a big expert in the ML world, but I find it very easy to get started with the external models. I just create secret scopes, stored my API key, and started doing some prompt engineering to create some stuff like asking, show me the list of the player who scored 65 goals, list, show me his nationality, number of goals, the club he played with. I was like a small baby, like.
Could be cool feature to have extension which automatically transform your output to table, yes? Because you ask question about these players and you could get table and save it automatically as a delta table or get JSON, depends on use case.
Yeah,
Yeah, and yeah, that's right. So what you could do now is you could enable the table inference in your
inference.
model
Yeah.
serving endpoints. And so it's going to keep track of your input and output. So it could be kind of one way of doing it.
And it can also be a way to improve. Let's say whenever you have a prompt, you can compare the results and see maybe how you can improve your model. It's like a way to monitor the model, but it's let's say in not an automatic way, but by bringing the human intelligence to make sure that the result is matching the expectations.
Inference tables can be also useful to monitor usage of LLMs in companies because a lot of companies are afraid about data leakage that use external model that someone is passing their information. So with inference tables you can have just easy to process log because it's just a delta table and just see what is sent to LLMs.
Yeah, yeah, and it's also super useful to detect things like toxicity, and it could be in the input to try to detect if something is trying to kind of hack the LLM, but also in the output, just to make sure that your LLM is always, behaving properly, not being lost, and just answering the right way. Which come back to all the LLM ops stacks with the ML inference monitoring, which is quite hard to implement, to be honest. But with that, Databricks make it kind of easy, especially if you add on top of that the new ML flow um, monitoring inference that we have. It's really cool. You have a set of default metrics that you can monitor, things like perplexity, toxicity on the input and output. It's really nice.
Indeed. And I don't think so. I don't think we can discuss about LLMs without mentioning vector search. I think it's now a buzzword, and
Yeah, yeah. You need to have a vector search in 2024. Yeah, otherwise you are completely has been for sure. Um, so yeah, the new thing is the vector search is now available as fully managed using the serverless embedding endpoints. So in the current version of the demo, for example, that we have, the LLMs, the embeddings are built manually. So you have to call the API to build the embeddings, but you don't have to do it anymore. So you have three types of embeddings now that you can create. So three type of indexes. So the first one is fully managed. We just say, hey, use these endpoints, and the engine is going to be in charge of computing the embeddings for you. So that's the new fully managed version, which is available. The second version is the version that we have on the demo currently, and you have to compute yourself the embeddings. You save the embeddings in the delta table, and that's what you use to query. And the last option is like a fully self-managed index, so you don't even have a delta table. You just call the API to save and retrieve the embeddings, which is super powerful if you want to do real-time updates. So it's really nice.
And I also
Yeah.
thought about like different usage of vector search. So, for example, a lot of companies are utilizing like OpenSearch or Elasticsearch, and in fact, it's like a Databricks product which can be also used for the same purpose because also now is like serverless function serving. So once it will be possible to connect it to vector search, you could just make like serverless endpoint when anyone, any your application, external application can query your data.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. I think Databricks is moving a bit toward the super low latency use cases,
Mhm.
and vector search, like the similarity search we have with the vector search implementation, is I guess one step toward this direction. And there is also the new how is it called?
Online
When you said
tables,
the
future
new
set.
online tables. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
online.
We will discuss it. Yes. So
Yeah, but behind
Yep.
scene, behind scene for LM, it's for the vector search is it's an online table because behind scene it's a delta live tables that it's kind of being updated by computing what do you have in the original source, and then it's a DLT that's gonna update and insert this data in this vector search.
Yeah, under the hood, that's what happening. So you save everything to one Delta Live table, and then you trigger a DLT pipeline, which is going to consume all the new changes from the Delta table and save everything back to a real-time index that you can use to run your similarity search. But that's only if you choose to run it like that. You can also remove all the DLT pipeline. You can remove the DLT table and just hit the real-time API, and you don't even have to, get the data to a Delta table if you don't want. So which is closer to the open, like for example, Elasticsearch kind of use case.
Yeah, and in my I think for my first use case I did on this vector search was to create a volume. I stole some PDF from the books I get, latest book, that Databricks is releasing, and I used some LangChain. I use LangChain to read those PDF, then store, of course, clean those PDF, and then store them in a Delta table, and then I call the vector search. Then I run the vector search, and then I use the similarity search. But of course, everything is how to use the right chunking. And I think, this is a very, very important step that people don't need to be sure, like, to choose the right chunking, because this will impact the result they're gonna have at the end. And I believe that introduces the next topic, the assistant. I'm pretty sure Hubert is excited by this feature and use it a lot. No?
it's still hallucinating a bit, but it's going better. Yes. So
Yeah, myself, I'm starting to use it a lot. Like I would write something, and if it's not working, I'm just asking the assistant, and it's doing a really good job at fixing the small kind of typos. And if you don't remember the API, just write something which is not working, ask him to fix it, and it's gonna work. So it's like starting to be
yeah.
working quite well.
My favorite element is that you can hit always diagnose error button and it can try to give you more information. Also, I saw this example with doc that you do slash doc and it generate
Yeah,
documentation. So I'm using mainly that two parts. I see.
Yeah,
yeah.
and to be honest, I think it's just the beginning. As every month will be like, hey, something is new on the assistant, and it's only the beginning. It's gonna be much better next year.
And so for those who don't know, so Hubbard was talking about a feature that you have within your notebook when you're coding, you're writing queries on the cells. You can add slash doc, and this will create an automatic documentation or explain what you have in this cell. So that's the feature. And for those who are using, I think, the assistant, I'm pretty sure. So they need to give as many contexts as possible. And I'm gonna tell you a funny story. So I was writing a delta table in I think I was writing this delta table in Python, and I was a bit lazy and I wanted to have it in SQL. I had to have the equivalent, but in SQL. So I did copy the code and write, can you make it available for SQL? So what the assistant gave me as an answer, that was a correct one. So that was spark.sql, and then they write inside the Python. No, that was the opposite. That was the
Yeah.
opposite. I wanted the Python code out of the SQL. So that was just okay, spark.sql and running the SQL
Yeah.
code. That was correct. So that's why it means you need to give as many details as possible to help the LLM understand the context. So that was a funny story, but but I mainly use it to understand the documentation and get and fix the error, because sometimes you just forget a comma or something and get lost, and the assistant fix it easily for you. And of course, feature store, and I believe Hubbard mentioned this. So introducing online tables for real-time serving.
Yes, so Spark is perfect when you process big data and you work with columnar format, so it's making join really fast. But there is a situation when you want to get only one record from like 1 terabyte. Yes, then it has to load from network storage because it's in cloud, from storage account, all Parquet files related to that, and process it. So it wasn't fast in that case. But with online tables, if you want to just hit one record, so for example, imagine that again that you have a web app and someone go to product page and see just one product. So you can just like in traditional SQL, MySQL, Postgres, you can just get that one record and return it really fast. I was testing it and I was getting response in around 100 milliseconds. Uh, it's including generation of Python code and time function to monitor that. So it was pretty fast. But I think my favorite part is that when you deploy that, you deploy function. So basically, you can have function which you create like create function, and that function is deployed serverless on serving endpoint. So it's like function apps, but like in like new better way. Yes, because imagine you just make create function, and what is in that function take user input and also table input and return something. So there is a quite cool example how to calculate distance, because user send his coordinates and place ID, and then you get that place from online table and do calculation in function. But imagine if it will be combined with access to vector search and LLM. You can have like limitless usage of that, because like you make micro service architecture that you have function which do something for user. I don't know, moderate post, return is that product vegetarian, etc etc. So it's like endless use cases, and you just deploy function which is in Unity catalog as your end code, like facing outside world.
Yeah, and I think to be honest, I think it's just the beginning of all the use cases you can build on that. I mean, ML is a big thing, and Databricks is starting, like the current use case is real-time feature store. But I think it's easy to think about all the other use cases you could implement if you have the capabilities to have one Delta table, which is backed by an online table providing like real-time answer based on some key that you can query in milliseconds. Like we could really start to have a lot of data use case where you have the Spark kind of version on the back end running the jobs, and then you even serve the front end application with key value, response time in milliseconds. I think it's going to unlock a lot of use cases. So right now it's really focused on all the feature store and all the ML use cases, but it's easy to see how we can tweak this kind of usage to start opening to other use cases.
Yeah, I think with time we will have in internet in general more use cases how it can be used. Yes, because now we have just a few because it's quite new product. So we have with this distance calculation, but in fact, when you will have ready use cases, then you can propose to companies that we can implement that. Yes, the easy way. So
Yeah,
like DB demos, yes, that there will be use case which can be easily implemented.
And
yeah,
here,
yeah, for sure.
and we're talking about Demo Center. Yeah, so this is the new rebrand of DB Demos.
Well, DB demos is just one subset of the assets in the demo center, but yeah, yeah,
And I think here we're gonna discuss about my favorite topic,
Yeah.
governance and dev experience on Databricks. And to be honest, this support of primary key and foreign key, uh, I think it was here for like it was available for like maybe the last 5 6 months, maybe if I'm not wrong. So they changed the display, but it was very very easy to just create a delta table on Unity catalog, of course. You can declare your primary key, foreign key, and then automatically, for example, if you log into Power BI, it will automatically populate the data model for you. So you don't need to go and say, okay, this column is linked to this column. And I think it's also a way to help maybe new joiners to understand the data model, how the tables is linked to the other one, maybe how to do joins. I think this for me it's a game changer.
Yeah, it really make data modeling easier. Yes, so it's really this kind of small improvements which can really improve data governance. Yes, just one note I hear that primary key and foreign key is still not enforced in Databricks. So if you have duplicate values, it will not throw the error. Yes, so maybe in future we will have some like enforced version which will be like index. I think now it's mainly for modeling purposes, information purposes, just Power BI integration, and also for feature store, yes, because you need to, and for online tables now, yes, because you need to have use the indexes there.
yeah, yeah, and I think it's gonna help in the future. I don't know if they do it now, but I suspect they if they don't, they will. Like helping things like the AI assistants to be stronger and give you better answer. Like if the assistant or Power BI know that this key depends on that one, then it's easy to see how you will be able to make, I don't know, generate better SQL or just give better answer overall. So the
Ah,
more
yes.
information you have on your data model, the smarter it's going to be.
Yeah, because the assistant will be able to understand how the tables are linked, and maybe if you join, ask him to join the tables, then it will be much easier for him to yeah yeah
Yeah,
the
without having to guess. Because if you don't have it, it's going to try to guess, that customer ID and ID are the same.
Mm.
In some cases, it's fairly simple with the name, but sometimes the name, are pretty bad. So in that case, if you have the foreign key declared, it can only be better.
yeah
And also it
yeah
helps with like documentation, yes, because you generate this in Unity catalog and like it's ready, so you don't have to write it in Confluence and document somewhere.
yeah exactly. And I think this is also introduces our next feature, because now I don't know if you heard about it, but Lakehouse Federation supports BigQuery. So if you're using
Yeah,
BigQuery, you have a way to extend it to your Lakehouse and
and I,
have the
I love
lineage.
the Lakehouse Federation. So I think it's such a good feature. The fact that you can declare all the external system that you have and govern everything with Unity catalog, I think it's really cool. And having BigQuery in here, like it's amazing.
Mm.
And I think I've heard also we have more to come, but we
Yeah, there are so much systems in the world that I didn't have chance yet to use Lakehouse Federation in practice. Yes, of course I was experimenting, but yes, more sources, it's better. I hope also that in future we'll have sources like Salesforce or some cloud tools. Yes, also possible like Zendesk, for example, to have it under Lakehouse Federation.
Yeah, and I think with the with the acquisition of
or
Okura,
Sion?
was a no, well, Action, yes, you will see more, I guess, input source. But with Okura, so Okura was doing kind of managed governance across external data sources. So I think you could do, I think the with Okura, what you could have done is declare some permission within Okura, and then it's going to push down all the permission to, for example, BigQuery. So if sometime we have this capability on the Databricks and Unity catalog, you would have one place to govern everything. Would be
Mhm.
amazing. But I don't know if it's going to be implemented. I'm just saying that's what Okura used to do. So we'll see.
Yeah, there are some
Yeah.
tools on the market which like synchronize permissions, like Privacera, between
Yeah, yeah,
different platforms. So,
And also like having played with it a bit, I mean not a bit for for a very long time, I've seen like how interesting is it because you have this lineage. So you know, for example, that you have those two tables are coming from BigQuery or I don't know any other system. Then you can, for example, do some transformations, build new tables, and then these tables can help you, for example, I don't know, to train some ML model, to build some dashboards, and you can find everything in this lineage that this table is coming from this source, and you can track everything. It's like building your own documentation without having this burden on the top. It's automatically built for you, and you can see with again system tables like who did create this external this who have used Lakehouse Federation, which table has been created. So you have really this governance, let's say end to end. And for me, it's something interesting because I was a data engineer before, and I know how important are those informations.
also recently there was, for example, Hive Metastore was added to Lakehouse Federation. So it's useful sometimes when you have on-premise Spark, for example, and so you can now govern it and see it like in Databricks.
yeah. Or
Yeah.
even if you use something like EMR, I guess you could plug it, so it's going to be really useful. Yeah, I agree.
And now we're gonna discuss a bit the latest improvements on Unity catalog, and we have we have a bunch of them. I think we have one that I forgot to add, but now you can add I think up to 5 GB of data through volume manually through the UI, and you have also now the possibility to delete and to delete the file from volume from the UI without granting, for example, this user the permission to access the storage, whether it's S3 or ADLS or Google Cloud Storage.
That you can use different kind of storages, yes, mapped to volumes. So you are in Azure, but you can map S3 as a volume.
It's not there yet.
Not yet, yes, but it will be, yes.
I can't
Yeah,
say
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I can't say no.
It's
I'm
trying
not
to
a
get
lawyer.
information, Youssef.
Yeah, yeah,
I
Yeah,
can't
but
deny.
I think with the new, I don't know if you saw that, but GCP just announced that in
Yeah,
some case they
egress.
start to remove the egress fees. So I think if we start having that being the case for all the clouds, which I suspect is going to come in maybe in a few years, but at some point I'm sure it's going to be here. That's going to be interesting because you will be able to really do cross, multi-cloud operation, and then having something like the Databricks fully multi-cloud, then you can have the data in any location, and then you can really have the compute anywhere because you don't pay the egress fee. I think it's going to be really interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty excited when I read the news, but let's see if the other cloud providers will follow as well. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's
and
kind.
and Joseph, I think you're missing the most important one, which is that Unity Catalog is now enabled by default on all the new workspaces. So that one, I think we've been
Yes.
waiting for that
Yeah,
one
so
for a long time.
some people are surprised because they register Databricks in Azure, and then a connector for Unity Catalog is automatically created, and they are asking what is that additional resource. And answer is yes. Now everything is created
Yeah.
automatically. So
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
it's
Especially
exciting.
for new, only for new workspaces, for your information.
for
New workspaces will have Unity catalog. The old ones, you still need to do it manually.
And I
And
think one more update is regarding delta sharing. Yes, is it in Unity catalog improvements, or do we have it separate?
yes, I think it's still below.
Yeah, it's
We
still
still
below.
have
Okay.
we still have shallow clone. I think we have a bunch of users of shallow clone, so it's now also available for external tables, and it's mainly for people who want to run experiments on some tables without having to copy 1 terabyte table. Just create a shallow clone, and only the modified data will be stored on this clone table. I
Yeah.
think it's very interesting to see it here now available.
And also shallow clone is really interesting solution. Not everyone knows about it. Yes, that you just all the data is referenced still from old table, and the new table is only new added data, but it still display old data. Yes, from source.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And we have also marketplace.
Yeah.
So we have a bunch, many exciting new features on marketplace. So first of all, Databricks added the solution accelerators part of the marketplace. And whenever, for example, if you search in the search bar for a specific data set, if this one exists on the marketplace, that will be displayed as well, and you can get it quickly. And something also new, you can also now consume the data on marketplace on external, not on, I mean, before you needed to have Databricks environment. Now you can consume it externally, for example, using Power BI or any other tool that supports data sharing. And I think it's pretty much interesting for users to download, I don't know, some weather data sets or some financial data sets or whatever to enrich the data and get the most of it. And I believe that's what you mentioned, the latest
Yeah, yeah.
capabilities on data sharing.
Yeah, so you can now share volumes, so basically you can share everything, yes, because in volumes you can upload any file.
Yeah, and same thing for the
Yeah,
dynamic views. You can build them and share them. Just keep in mind that this works for now only between two Databricks environments. So this is very important. And why we did add data sharing above marketplace, because marketplace is built on the data sharing capability. And then we have a bunch of interesting features,
yeah.
but they are pretty much deep,
Yeah,
like the
GDBC
GDBC
driver is
driver.
always updated, so every month.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you can also now select a variety of themes in Notebook editor. We have a new rendering, and I don't know, what do you think about the new cell rendering? When you, for example, I don't know, select star from this table, what do you think about the new rendering?
yeah, I think. Okay.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that there is a funny story because when new rendering was enabled, there was no delete button. So,
Really?
but now
Oh
is
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was
there.
in the
Now is
option.
there.
It was in the option. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You had to go in there. Yeah, yeah. I had the
yeah,
same complaint.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think everybody does, and they added it back.
Yeah, but now there is a big trash, yes, to delete yourself. So problem solved.
Yeah, and in the meantime, they released the DBR 14.2. And to be honest, I forgot the details about this release.
Yeah, I think it's starting to get Spark 3.5, and then I believe the next version is going to be the LTS with
The LTS one,
3.5.
yeah. The next one will
Yeah.
be the LTS one, yeah.
And
So
I think it's really like a lot of months passed since 13.3. Yes, it was in August. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. But this one, yeah, then the 14.3 will be the LTS. And for those who don't know what the LTS mean, which means long-term support, which means that this runtime is gonna be supported for 3 years from the date of its release. And all the one without the LTS are supported for 6 months, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, 6 months from the day they are released. We have also the Auth GA now. It was in public preview. Super good news. and the deprecation of workspace libraries. And something also, I don't think I did mention it, but now you can also add the libraries in the work in the cluster policies. You can specify the specific library. Only those libraries can be installed if you have this specific policy in place.
Yeah,
And I think also,
it's a really good solution because when you go to uh, through PIP, for example, in internet, anyone can publish there, and there are a lot of exploits and a lot of nasty stuff. So it's good to specify this policy, especially for all environments different than development or sandbox. Yes, which packages can be installed.
yeah,
So
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I didn't know about it. So you can specify like a list
yeah,
of libraries.
yeah.
Like you can put maybe 20 and you can only choose among these. That's nice.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And and also something else where, like within the also said security, now access controls can no longer be disabled. So because before we have this possibility when you could avoid having this access control list. Now it's mandatory. You cannot disable it. So the case you can have over here is, for example, you have a workflow. So if you have a workflow and, for example, if you use it in the old-fashioned way, for example, you have a notebook that calls a notebook that calls a notebook. So you have only the security over the first one, which means if the others are not, they don't have the permission, they cannot access the child notebook. Because if they use the old-fashioned way, I'm not talking about workflow when it was still called Databricks jobs. So which means they need to fix. People need to fix this, and this is a way to enforce the security and avoid having everyone accessing everyone's jobs or data. And this is super mandatory to avoid having some issues. And for the AWS, we have also these IAM policies for storage credentials that now require an external ID. So that was mainly linked to AWS. So I think that was everything. Do you have anything else to add on your side, guys?
In my opinion, it was really excitement month, and a lot of these updates are in fact really big, like LLMs or function serving online tables, and in fact they can now they will be they will shape market for years. So that's my
Yeah, I
opinion.
think
Yeah,
we can see a big push on LLMs for sure.
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, I think for November that was mainly the LLMs, external models, foundation models, vector search, online table, feature serving, and of course Unity catalog. That's also it's now, I think everyone gets used to Unity catalog. It's you don't discuss about Databricks without mentioning UC. I'm pretty sure in the future that's going to also be the Gen AI because of the Mosaic. I think that's also the future. So I think before we close the call, just make sure to subscribe to the Next Gen Lakehouse, and I will also put in the description Hubert channel. He has some pretty good videos. I mean, a bunch of them, but don't hesitate to subscribe.
Yeah,
So for Quentin, just stay
we'll
with
put
that, and
links in the description below,
yeah,
and put your comments and question and feedback regarding formula, and we will see each other next month.
exactly.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Bye
folks.
you.
bye.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.